Hello, welcome back. I'm back at last. Welcome to my world of stuff. I'm finally out and about. It's now Tuesday afternoon. It's the 9th of April. As you may recall from my weekend video, my plan was to go out on Sunday to see Kong vs Godzilla, or Godzilla vs Kong, or whatever it's called. But the weather was so bad, it was just chucking it down with rain. I'm sure it's been the same where you are. Just couldn't be bothered to go. It's much nicer today. It's been a bit windy this morning, but at least it's dry now. So I'm finally going out and about. Health-wise, I'm nearly there. My cough is pretty much gone. I've just got to get rid of this sort of pain in my side from my pulled muscles, but I think a couple of days should do that, and I'll be match fit for the summer, hopefully. The thing about being ill, certainly this length of time, I've been ill like 4 or 5 weeks, does make you a little bit apprehensive about going out because you don't want to risk picking something up again, a similar bug. But you just got to get over that and carry on. So yeah, I'm off out today. I'm going to grab a coffee on the way, pop and see Kong, and I will do my review back in the car when I've seen it because I'm going out later on this evening. So I will see you after some gorilla versus lizard action. And we're back in the car 2.5 hours later. Kong versus Godzilla, Kong X Godzilla, the New Empire, whatever they want to call it. Stars some people. It's directed by Adam Wingard, although really it's directed by a lot of computers working very hard. It's one of those films that is sort of almost breathless. You can imagine the pitch for it. And then this happens, and then this happens. For example, it starts off with Kong wandering the hollow earth, a bit sad, a bit lonely, looking for his own people, but he's the last of his kind. And then Godzilla attacks Italy and smashes up the Colosseum and falls asleep in the Colosseum and destroys a big smashy giant spider monster. And then Kong is attacked by some apes, scar apes, great orange apes that attack him, and he fights them and he attacks them. And then back on Earth, back on the surface, the human characters decide that they pick up signals from a distress beacon of some sort. Kong, who's got a bad tooth, comes to the surface through a portal from the hollow earth. And then a vet, played by Dan Stevens, manages to extract Kong's bad tooth, replace it with a metal one that's indestructible. And it just goes on and on and on, with more monsters appearing. Mothra, some great big dragon thing. The big bad of the film is this creature that turns everything to ice. Oh, we just saw that in Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. And then I've just come out of this film and I don't know whether to be angry with it, exhausted by it, or mainly disappointed. I'm mainly disappointed. I'm a massive fan of King Kong. King Kong was my first monster, seeing the film on TV back in the 60s, 70s. And I've loved that sort of, the image of this giant ape, the classic Skull Island adventure with the quest for Kong, bringing him back to New York, all that iconic stuff, which just created in me this love of giant monsters. And I love giant monster movies. You can't go wrong with a giant monster movie. Never been such a big fan of Godzilla. I've always found him a little bit one note. I understand and appreciate his cultural significance and importance in Japan post World War II and what he symbolises. And I really liked last year's Godzilla -1 because it wasn't part of this Legendary Pictures franchise that we now have. And that's sort of where my problem with this film lies. Legendary, over the past 10 years, I've done these films with mixed results. The Godzilla films have been quite dull. I loved Kong Skull Island. I really enjoyed the previous face-off between Kong and Godzilla because there was some weight to it, and these two behemoths meeting and fighting and causing carnage. And it felt as if it mattered. The stakes mattered. The humans don't matter. The humans don't matter in these films. That's why I'm so dismissive of them. It's a good in theory, a good cast. People like Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Dan Stevens, but they've got nothing to work with, and that doesn't matter because it's not about them. It's about the monsters. But I think that this film just takes it too far. It's difficult to sort of explain why this film didn't chime with me properly. It just seemed like too much CGI, and obviously it's CGI. Obviously the monsters aren't men in suits anymore. They're not stop motion animation, unfortunately. They are CGI. But there's a weightlessness to them. There's a lack of solidity to them. There's a lack of power there, even though they're fighting and punching and hitting and gouging, and they just, because you know they're pixels in a computer, you know what technology can do these days. Their movements don't seem particularly naturalistic. There's a bit in the trailer you might have seen which really annoyed me, of Godzilla and Kong running into action, but they didn't look like monsters. They didn't look like animals. They looked like runners running somewhere. They didn't have the heft that you want from great lumbering beasts, because they're too fast, they're too agile, they're too fast on their feet. The fights just go on and on. More and more monsters turn up. There's a lost tribe in the Hollow Earth. There's a giant snake, a giant serpent, there's giant this, giant that, pterodactyl type creatures. On, and then. By the end, I just didn't really care anymore. By the end, not that I was desperate for it to end, because it was, entertaining enough to watch in an empty, completely facile way. But in the end, then, you get the final battle in Rio de Janeiro. And a couple of people have commented on this. There you get Godzilla and Kong teaming up to fight this frozen monster thing. You get Mothra, you get some other dragony thing, you get more apes. And Rio de Janeiro is just completely level, completely flattened. You don't see the human side of it. Of course, millions of people would have died. Millions of people would have been flattened, crushed, vaporized, but you don't see any of that. It's all about the destruction of the buildings and everything, the complete carnage that's being caused. And it all ends up with a big smile at the end and promise of more to come. Maybe it just caught me in a bad mood. Maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind for something else, but I wasn't expecting it to be quite this vacuous. And I love the big monsters. I do love a big monster, but this just did not work for me in the way I wanted it to. All the other legendary films I've gone back to watch again. I love Kong Skull Island, as I said. I love Kong vs. Godzilla. I saw that when it came out in lockdown. It came out on streaming. Then when it arrived in cinemas, I went to see it again. I've seen it 3 or 4 times. But this, I can't imagine watching this again, because there's nothing to it. And I'm not complaining about the human interest stuff, because you don't expect there to be much interest in that. But I just found the monsters a bit dull. There's one scene where they're fighting in a sort of gravity well, and they're all floating and flying around, and I think, well, I can't, not that I can't relate to it, but I can't connect to any of this. It's too much. Yeah, so my instant out of the theatre reaction to this is that it's a really stupid film, and I think that's the general consensus. I think that how much you enjoy it depends on how much you can tolerate this sort of utter inanity. So yeah, I was disappointed by it, because I just wanted a bit more. I don't know what I wanted, because I knew what this was going to be, I suppose. And these films do escalate. Every one that they do, the stakes are higher, the monsters are bigger. And I don't know where they go from here, because this is done very well at the time of recording this. It's taken about 400 million worldwide on a budget of 135 million. Chances are it's going to make something like 700 million, so there's going to be more. But what I would like to see is, I would like to see Kong and Godzilla and be awed by them and go, wow, look at the power of that thing. I don't want to see it racing around like somebody in a marathon, arms and legs pumping. I don't want to see these mindless sort of fights. I don't know what you do with these creatures to make them awe-inspiring again. I think that's my main issue. I think these characters have been slightly devalued by modern technology and what modern technology has done to them. Of course, it doesn't help that the story is fairly crap and the human interest is crap, but you sort of expect that. You don't go and see these films for great character stuff, although we had that with Godzilla -1 last year, which was about the monster and the characters, and you can do it, but I just don't think that Legendary and Hollywood want to do that sort of thing, or can do that sort of thing. So for me, I think these films have hit a bit of a dead end now. And I'll be interested to see where they go next. It's going to be bigger, but I don't know how you go bigger than this. So yeah, my initial thoughts then I was disappointed. Ultimately, I was bored. Towards the end, I just wanted it to end. Which is a shame. I'm going to give this a generous 5 out of 10. I wanted to give it 7. As I was watching, I thought this is probably going to be about 7. But as it went on, some more and more ridiculous things happened. And bearing in mind it's a ridiculous scenario of monsters under the earth and monsters wandering across the planet. But you can be even more ridiculous by some of the ridiculous contrivances in this one, particularly involving Godzilla being given a bionic arm. I'll say no more about that. If you've seen the film, you'll know about that scene and how stupid it is. So I don't know where these characters go now. I don't know what you do. But then I suppose the filmmakers aren't seeing a problem. They're seeing profit and they're thinking, well, more of the same. I'd like something else, but I don't know what. It's just going to be whatever we have next is going to be this times 10. So there, that's my thoughts. I mean, I might wake up in the morning and think, actually, it wasn't that bad. But at the moment, I'm just thinking it was a lot of sound and fury that really didn't signify anything. There we are, that's Kong X Godzilla, or Godzilla X Kong. The new Empire's in cinemas now. If you've seen it, let me know what you thought of it. Leave a comment down below. Be interested to hear what you think of this one, because it could be divisive. And it's unusual for me, because I do like a mindless monster film, but this, I just think, went a bit too far even for me. Right, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll be back with some more stuff soon. Until I am. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's the important thing. Press that like button. Press the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. I'll see you soon. Until I do. Keep taking the stuff.